This is Riri Mokru, and you're watching Wrestling with Mental Health. I'm sitting here with my main man,
Hey, hey.
Jaze Hart.
Love you, man. Good to see you again. Good to be here.
Haven't seen you in a good decade, but you still look young and beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're
So do
welcome.
you, by the way.
Thank you. So, what first hooked you on pro wrestling?
Oh, when I was a kid, for sure. Being a kid and going to the video stores, like Blockbuster, Rogers Video, things like that, and like renting the old VHS tapes of Hulk Hogan and Bret the Hitman Hart and the old Royal Rumbles.
Yeah,
That's probably what got me going the most.
yeah. The VHS displays were
It was a
something else.
huge Hulkamaniac. That's for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What made you think I want to do this for real?
That would have been when I was a bit older. When I was a kid, it was always like a bit of a fantasy, of pretending alone in my room, probably like many of us did, as wrestling fans, right? Uh, you know, Against invisible opponents, and then, stupidly doing it with our friends in the backyard
Yeah,
when we probably shouldn't have been,
yeah.
and hurting ourselves. But then there came a time when I was probably about 12. I remember being like really into like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that, and like the way they train and stuff like that. And I remember thinking around that time, I was like, I want to that. This is what I want to do. I remember watching wrestling and being like, I want to do that. Of course, I thought it was a lot more, uh, less scripted than it obviously ended up being. Um, but I remember like just being like, I want to like have those moments and be those characters and like live through those like experiences. Um, Yeah, yeah, probably about that age.
Okay. What do you remember most about your first live wrestling show?
My first live wrestling show that I went to,
Yeah.
would be with my dad, I think. Uh, I believe it was with my dad, and we went to go see a show, which was like a live event for WWF at the time. And it was like The Rock was there and Kane, and I remember that was like a big thing. We had a big laugh at that when that show happened, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really funny too. I remember there was a segment where Kane and The Rock were going back and forth, and The Rock was like had Kane in the ring at the microphone. He's like, "So, Kane, what is your favorite kind of pie?" And Kane like takes it, and had like the crazy robot voice at the time. He's like, "Boom, dang pie," and everyone just like lost it and started fucking laughing. Can we swear on this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, then we start fucking laughing. My dad and I had a good laugh at that. Yeah, good times, great memories.
Where did you begin your wrestling training?
That would be squared circle training. My godmother had passed away from an unfortunate car accident. Um, and but before that, even I was like still on the trajectory of being like, I want to be a wrestler, I want to be a wrestler, I want to be a wrestler. Like even when I was like in school, I was taking all my classes and I was doing martial arts in order to have like that as my trajectory. I did Goju-Ryu, martial arts, karate. I did, which ended up paying off tremendously. My wrestling training, actually, that you ask. And then I did a lot of drama classes, and really wanted to be an actor. I got the role in a school play where I absolutely killed it as an alcoholic father. Uh, I would have been later removed from that role due to family reasons, but I did get the role. And yeah, it was always kind of like my trajectory to kind of like do that stuff. And then wrestling training itself began at Squared Circle Training. My main trainer was uh, Cobra Kai. Uh, he was our main trainer, Steve. He served underneath, of course, Rob Fuego, who helped train many wonderful talent here in Ontario. And I trained there for approximately about a year before I had to drop out due to, well, my ride. I didn't drive myself. And I didn't have a ride there anymore. But that was my own. my own reason for stopping was my own reason for stopping. Like I don't have no one to blame but myself on that.
Yeah.
But honestly, just life stuff came up and I had to stop there. So once I got back into wrestling, it would be through kind of like going in the hard way. I just like took on like I used the training I did have to kind of like propel myself to further trajectories.
Who pushed you the hardest when you were training?
When I was training, uh, hmm, pushed me the hardest when I was training. You know, I gotta say that was probably actually a guy named Tiger Star. I don't know if you've heard of him. He was probably more on the scene at the time. Uh, he was he served under Steve, and he helped like train us all and stuff like that. And he would have none of my nonsense, which is honestly a good thing. Like, but he definitely took liberties where he shouldn't have. I remember one time he chopped me in the chest pretty hard after I was trying to correct somebody else, even though I was just starting. Oh, sorry, not the microphone. Even though I was just starting, which I shouldn't have done. I totally admit that. But he just came up to me and just like chopped me as hard in my chest as he could, and he goes, "You shouldn't do that." And I just looked down at it, like I look back at him, and I completely no sell it. I'm like, "Come on, what was that for?" And then he walks away, and yeah, he's a good guy though. Like he was a little hot headed, I have to say, but he pushed me the hardest while I was there training, I have to say. And Steve, honestly, he would like kept on me for like correcting my shit until I eventually got it.
What's something about wrestling school that would surprise fans?
How hard it is! I'm
Yeah.
sure that that would be like the number one thing you hear from everybody else too. I'm sure, but it wrestling is no joke in terms of what the physical toll that it takes on your body. Like a lot of people who might be promising superstars in the future end up leaving early on due to injury just in their training. You know, they go in, something happens in training, they get told. I remember there's one guy in particular, I can't remember his name was, but this guy was like a golden child. He came in, he got injured in his leg, and we never saw him again because, you know, that was that. And I have other people too that I know, like my buddy Mark, who was driving me there in the first place. He was, people called him like the golden child as well uh, because he was very talented in terms of what he could accomplish. He would practice alone in his room, just like watching wrestling tapes and like pausing it and like closing his eyes and going through the moves to the point where we got to wrestling school and he would just walk through everything like he'd been doing it 1,000 times. Everyone loved him. Everyone loved him. In fact, when I was there, even they were like, "Hey, so where's Mark?" And I was like, "He's not here, but I'm here." And they're like, "Yeah, but where's Mark?" And I was like, "He's not here." I eventually stopped coming because I believe a shoulder injury, and then that was again the end of that.
Tell me about your first match. How nervous were you?
Oh, for my first match. Okay, my first match was a battle royale. So there being that many people kind of takes the nerves off of it, but I was extremely nervous. Like all I could think of is like I don't want to screw up. I don't want to screw up. I don't want to screw up. But luckily, while we were backstage, I lost a draw. Like we literally had like a draw of like who would like go out in certain orders of like there's certain people who of course were going to win, but everything else was like done like by drawing straws, and I got like the lowest straw, so I was like going to be out first. So I was like, sweet. So I was in and out of there pretty fast. But you know there were some cool names in that match. Mike Hart was in that match. That show was pretty sweet. He was working for Smith Hart for
Nice.
Stampede Wrestling.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, there was a great Fit Finley seminar beforehand where I learned some very invaluable lessons. Like Vince McMahon's biggest pet peeve, apparent wrestling, is you know when people are in the corner and they're getting beat up
Yeah.
and they're like holding onto the ropes like this and just like leaning into it and just like oh like some
Yeah.
kind of toy or something getting
They're
punched.
playing into
Yeah,
it.
Vince hates that.
Yeah.
So the thing he loves the most, what does Undertaker do? He like tries to make it look like he's going to block it. He doesn't block it because those hits need to hit, but you know they always go for those blocks. And so
Yeah.
I remembered that every time. So I was like, okay,
Make it
I'm
look
gonna
like a
make
real
sure.
fight.
Exactly, exactly. If you're getting punched, you'll be trying to block it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, yeah. So who was on that show as well? It was Finley and Harry Smith, and yeah, it was a good time.
How did the James Hart character come about?
Oh, Jay's heart itself.
Yeah.
That was me in general. Uh, I remember I gave myself the name Jaze. That's not even a wrestling thing. I just like I birth name Justin Hart, but I gave myself the name Jaze uh, when I was a young man, probably about 12 or so. Actually, around the same time I decided I want to be a wrestler, but it wasn't a wrestling thing. It's just like I'm. This is who I want to be. Kind of like took my own identity for myself, and that's where the Jace Hart name came from. And then the character of it became the Jagged Razor Jace Hart, and that was I. I remember just planning like it was backyard wrestling stuff with my friends and stuff like that, and just we were playing video games and talking about the future and how I want to be a wrestler and stuff like that, and I talked about how serious I was about it. And my buddy Phil, he was like, Jay sounds like Jagged Razor. I'm like, oh, that's a cool name. So I became the Jagged Razor. Jace Hart is the name I gave myself.
Nice.
Until eventually I became Jaze Hartless, of course. And yeah, that was Notorious TID who was responsible for that name.
I was gonna say, how did you tweak or reinvent your gimmick, but you partly answered that.
Partly entered that, yeah, yeah. Well, the whole story starts with me with it was that show actually. It was the Smith Hart show that I ran with the Battle Royale. Like I said, it was in and out of there, but I got a cool picture of it. Um, and there was a fan in the audience. His name's Wayne Keatley. He happened to notice me, and we had a good conversation afterwards. And I told him what I'm telling you all now, which was, I didn't finish my wrestling training, but I learned enough that I could like do some small stuff here and there. I can take bumps. I can talk. Um, and so I'm just kind of like trying to find my place in this crazy business that we call wrestling. And my first callback after that was uh, the guy who was running Power Slam Wrestling Extreme at the time, is what it was called, PWE. And he's like, "Hey, we got this match coming up where we need to have some guys get beat up by another guy here named Notorious TID. So you're gonna come in, you're gonna wrestle a one-on-one match, and Notorious TID is gonna come in, and he's gonna beat the snot out of you both, and that's gonna be that." And I was like, "All right, no problem, sounds good." And I remember getting there, and the guy I was supposed to face didn't show up due to car issues. And I was like, all right, so whatever happens, happens. If I just nothing happens at all, then I'm fine with that. They're like, no, we're gonna have you just kind of go out there and have like a one-on-one match with Notorious TID, and he's just gonna beat the crap out of you. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And the dude has like a whip. I'm sorry, a bull rope tied into a noose when I get there, and he's just smiling at me, and I'm like, hey, so what's going on? And he's like, have you ever been hung before? I'm like, no, but I have a feeling I'm about to. He's like, you're about to. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And we go into that match, and the first thing he does, and remember, I'm saying this with the utmost love to Notorious TID. He takes me into the ring, and this is my first like real match with like a pro veteran. He takes his knee and hits me into the rib, breaks my rib, and then we proceed to work the rest of the match. And the adrenaline's just like running through me like crazy, right? So I'm like, I don't have time to keep selling my rib anymore because now I'm being punched in the face. Now I'm being uh, utterly destroyed. But he walks me through there that match like a professional. And he hits me with this awesome muscle buster. I still say it's the best muscle buster in pro wrestling. No offense to Samoa Joe, but Notorious TID's muscle buster just looks more devastating and felt like a pillow. By the way, fantastic.
Lucky.
That was gentle. It was fine. Yeah, yeah. The worst part was him breaking my rib. Much love. Uh, and yeah, I remember after so he after the match he takes the noose and he hangs me over the top rope, and I'm like, oh god, I don't like that. And they drop to the outside, and then he comes onto the outside and he like looks at that rope. He looks at me. He looks at the rope and looks at me, and I'm like, this motherfucker's about to hit me with this rope. I know he is. And lots running through my mind at the moment, and I'm like, I'm a crazy bastard. Like I can handle pain. Like I'm not gonna say like nobody else or anything like that, but I can handle pain. I can handle my own when it comes to pain. And I was like, okay, so I can either say screw this guy. This guy's about to whip the hell out of me, and he takes that noose and he starts whipping me. He does it, and I'm like, okay, or I can do what I'm watching a lot of shoot interviews at the time, and I'm like, or I can like use this, you know So I do the first thing I think of when I'm hearing about wanting to sell is like I look to the children in the audience and I still, tears in my eyes. I'm like crying out. I'm like, oh, please help me. I need the help. Please, you got to do something. And he's just whipping the hell out of my back. I still got pictures of that. And yeah, he beats the crap out of me, that whip, something fierce. And then I go backstage after the match and I look him square in the eyes. I take his hand and I say, thank you very much for the opportunity, sir. I very much appreciate it. And should any other opportunities come up in the future where we can work together, I would very much like that. And I start packing my stuff and I just start leaving because this wasn't even supposed to be a paid gig. So, I'm like, I've done what I came to do. I'm just going to bow out respectfully. And about halfway through the front door, when the promoter comes up to me and he goes, where are you going? I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you can't leave. And I'm like, oh no, did I do something wrong? Like, did I shit the bed that bad in this match? Like, and he's like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, TID won't shut up about you. He's like, you're somebody out of the 70s or something like that. No one takes a beating like you just took and then goes backstage and thanks them for it. He's like, that's like kind of the stuff you don't hear about. Like, I've had TID do that to people like before, and I get like lawsuit like threats and threats to call from the police and things like that to talk people down. Like, you came in here like a champion and just like took that. I was like, well, that's what I learned. What you're supposed to do. Like, yeah, the guy wanted to take some liberties with me, which I understood he would want to do. It makes sense because I am just some punk off the streets who was looking to get into the business, and I'm glad he did. And yeah, so this is going somewhere. Uh, because of that, they're like, we want to call you back for more stuff. So I come back in. The next time they bring me in, they have me get beat up by him again, but it wasn't like as serious as the first time for another match. And I remember I got on the microphone. They're like, we're going to give you some microphone time just to see how you do on the microphone. And I got on there and I killed it. And they're like, okay, this guy can spit. So we're going to make him a manager. And thus, we're like, okay, so we're going to bring you back as a manager. We're going to give you some guys to manage, but we want to make you a bad guy. So we know we just kind of build you up as a baby face here, but we're going to like switch it over. Like, do you think you can do heel? I'm like, I think I could do heel. And then that's where the name Jaze Hartless came from. TID coined that. He's like, we don't want to call you Jaze Hart though. We want to get away from the Hart name because that way that it really does kind of belong to that family. Like, I know that's your real name, but we're gonna switch it up for you. And I think Jaze Hartless would suit you great. I'm like, I could not agree more. I think that's a great freaking name. And yeah, so Jaze Hartless was born.
What do you? What's more natural to you, being a baby face or being a heel?
Oh, heel for sure. Yeah, I remember there's been more than enough times where I've been in the ring just training and stuff like that, and everyone just tells me like, "And you motherfucker, you can't be anything but a heel." I don't know if it's my face. I don't know what it is, but I do a good heel anyway, so I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm a natural heel. It's because I know what gets under people's skin, right? My big thing was conspiracy theories, right? I wanted to save the world through wrestling. Like, how am I going to do that? The first time I came out to the ring, I had this big sign that said 9/11 was an inside job, which it was. Oh,
Oh,
hot topic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll say that over and over again. 9/11 was an inside job.
that's cool.
And Building 7 was the smoking gun on that
Yeah,
one.
Building 7 was a detonation.
Yeah, 100%. There was no plane hit it. Like, and then the BBC announced it collapsing before there was even signs of it collapsing. Like,
Yeah,
come on. Anyway, but yeah, so I came out there with a sign that says 9/11 was an inside job. My wife made it for me. Um, and that was just going to be my gimmick. So I became, the ever charismatic, all organic, corruption fighting, conspiracy proving ring general of the revolution, Jace Hartless.
so how much of the real you shows up in your character?
I mean, like a lot of that is all
Yeah,
me, right? But again, I mean, I don't hate people like I think young me hated people like that, and I kind of like tapped into that, just being like, how could you let this happen, like kind of attitude. Like, that's the kind of thing I would always say in my promos, like, our air is unfit to breathe, our food is unfit to eat, our water is unfit to drink, and it's your fault. But it's not just your fault; it's your father's fault and your grandfather's fault. I'm like attacking them intergenerationally, and this is all the stuff they don't want to think about. Like, this is stuff they go to wrestling to escape, and that's exactly what I said. I'm like, you all came here to escape, and I won't let you. And that was the whole premise of my gimmick.
I was just gonna say, what's the promo you're most proud of?
Windows. I did one called Windows on YouTube. You can look it up. That's the one I think I did probably the best. I remember I did it. I don't remember what show it was for, but I remember just talking about how what it is that connects with people and what makes you believable, and it's what's in the eyes. Like a lot of people go out there and they talk and they go out there and they perform, but no one believes that you can do anything unless they see it in your eyes. And the eyes are the windows to the soul. And yeah, that was probably one of my best ones. One of my best live ones was at Barry Wrestling. I couldn't remember what the show was though, or what the subject was. It's just one of those moments where I was like, I'm just like really getting under their skin. I can feel it.
What are free indie matches that mean the most to you?
Ooh, Nigel McGuinness versus Brian Danielson.
Oh, that's a good game.
Uh, one of it was the one they did for their first, I think, pay per view. I can't remember what the show was called, but I remember that one. I watched it like over and over again. I just really loved that match. I don't know what it was that connected with me so much, but I remember showing it to my buddy Mark and like, we have to watch this again. We just watched it again and again. I love that one a lot. Oh God, second one. Oh, Samoa Joe versus CM Punk back during the summer of Punk, and just because I was there for it, Brian Danielson versus Claudio Castagnoli.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, the first show they had live in Toronto. Yeah, I was happy to be at that one. That was a great match.
Who are your favorite five indie wrestlers of all time?
Brian Danielson. I guess I don't know. I guess he kind of like broke the mold to the point where he's no longer an indie wrestler. But I loved him back when he was in his indie days, like quite a bit.
And he was an American Dragon.
Yeah, the American Dragon, Brian Danielson. I really connected with that because I know I never really emulated that much in my own wrestling. And let me clarify, by the way, I am not the best wrestler. I wouldn't even clarify myself more as a pro wrestler as much as I was a pro wrestling manager. Um, But yeah, Brian Danielson is up there as one of my favorites because of the way he moves in a match, the way he sells in a match. I think the match that stuck out to me the most and why it was, I don't remember again who he was facing or anything like that, but he took a hit early in the match to his arm, and the rest of the match, he sold that arm like it was like dead. Anything that happened to that arm, he was just like completely limp armed. He was protecting that arm the entire match. And I'm like, I believe that. Let's see, who are the other wrestlers? So what were the five wrestlers?
Five.
Five indie wrestlers. So yeah, Brian Danielson. Sorry, I said that twice now. CM Punk, again from the Summer Punk days. Samoa Joe. Uh, I know we're all talking from like the same era, but like this was the era that I was like really into indie wrestling at the time. Um, Kenny Omega, actually, definitely goes on that list as well. And to give a shout out to my friend Carter Mason, I'll throw at number five there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
King of the North, Big Papa. He's good.
yeah, yeah. You know why? For the same reason. I saw one of his matches where he had something early in his match happen to his leg,
Yeah.
and he sold that leg the entire match like it was no other. And I remember telling him after the match, I was like, "That was one of the best matches." You like, I thought that was one of the best matches I've ever seen. He was like, "Oh, thank you. That means a lot." And I'm like, "No, I mean it though. Like a lot of matches I see, like just people take their moves and they don't sell them for the rest of the match." And I'm like, "But what about what just happened? There's a lack of storytelling." And
Yeah.
yeah,
Ring psychology, it's non-existent anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Nobody really knows it.
Exactly. Exactly.
What's the craziest crowd reaction you've experienced?
I got this one. Oh, for sure. All right. So there was a show where I was banned from the ring, and we're all like, "How the hell are we going to do this though? Because we want you there for the end of the match, for you to this big surprise, but we don't want you running out from behind the rafters or anything like that. Because then, of course, you were just hiding back there the whole time. We need that shock value." I'm like, "Well, the only way to do that is for me to pop up from underneath the ring." And they're like, "Yeah, but there's like, it's not like there's a trap door under there. Like, how are we going to get you underneath the ring?" I'm like, "Put me under there before the show starts." And he's like, "But you'll be under there for hours." I'm like, "That's fine. It'll be worth it." So the whole show goes on. I remember Jeff Black. Um, he fucks with me once by coming down under there, and he's like, "Hey, buddy, just want to let you know, by the way, your spot's coming up actually a lot sooner than it's supposed to." So I'm like scrambling to get ready for my spot, and then and this was before intermission, so I'm like getting ready, and then intermission passes by, and the next wrestler comes out. I God, I can't remember who it was right now. I think it was Tomer. Tomer Shalom comes underneath after, and he's like, "Hey, just so you know, that last guy was fucking with you. Everything's going with you. Everything's going just fine. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So here we are waiting for the end of the show, and it was Mark House who was supposed to be attacking, and I got the steel chair, and at the end of the show, I come on out from underneath the ring, and everyone loses their goddamn minds because how the hell did I get under there? Like I couldn't have slipped under there during intermission.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I slip out of there with a steel chair, and I clock Mark House over the head with the steel chair as hard as I could, upon his request, by the way. And even afterwards, he's like, "You could have hit me a bit harder, man." I'm like, "Dude, I clocked you as hard as I could with that chair, man." And it looked good on camera still, anyway. Um, and yeah, so that was the whole thing. That was probably my biggest reaction, where everyone like just hated the shit out of me. In fact, I got most hated wrestler of the year award twice in a row, 2 years in a row at Barrie Wrestling.
Nice.
So,
What makes the Ontario indie scene so special?
oh, the interconnectedness in a way, it kind of feels like a family. I think it feels like you don't get that in any other state or any other province. I think in the same way you do in Ontario.
That's true.
Yeah,
And the boards keep it all connected.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And the fans like yourself and the ones who are no longer with us, like Tor,
Yeah.
John St. Louis, who, God, I love those guys, adore them to death.
Rage.
Rage. Well, he was a fan, he was a wrestler, and he was a
Yeah.
fan of the business too, obviously, as well. But yeah, yeah, I love Rage, Rob Thompson.
Has wrestling ever tested your mental health?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I've got my own mental stuff that I deal with. Um, I have an undiagnosed dissociative identity disorder, or split personalities.
Oh,
I've
that's fun.
got, what's that?
That's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember I was going through some of my worst stuff around near the end of my career, near one of my promotions I was going with at the time, and uh, I remember even like telling them at the time, like, I'm going through like this really hard time right now because, like, like I said, I've got that going on, and then I do have a diagnosed Asperger's, or now it's not even Asperger's anymore. Now it's just a, a, a form of autism. But I remember telling the promoter at the time what was going on with me at the time, and I didn't really feel like I got the sympathy that was necessary for me at the time to continue working at that location.
How do you deal with self-doubt after a match?
Oh, like after like you shit the bed,
Yeah.
yeah, or you're like, damn, or at least feeling like you
Or
shit the
you're
bed.
just feeling like you shit the
Just
bed.
reminding yourself over again, it's indie wrestling. A lot of stuff isn't recorded. It's just going to be in the memories of the people who are there. Um, and even if it is, how bad was it really? This is going to be the match that WWE is going to watch and like is now going to reject you for?
Yeah.
And then just be like, it's a learning experience. Sometimes you make mistakes, and you just move on. You keep trucking forward. But the biggest thing you can tell yourself is that if the fans didn't notice, then you didn't really fail. So it was only a thing where if it's a thing where the fans definitely noticed, then it's everything I said before. But if the fans didn't notice, then there was no failure at all. Anything that you wanted to do that time that you weren't able to, you just carry with you for the next time and you pull it off later.
Have you experienced burnout in the business?
Yeah, yeah. And from what I was just telling you before, yeah, just like feeling kind of disillusioned with the people you're working with.
Yeah.
I said some things I shouldn't have about somebody, or I shouldn't have said it about, and I think I was probably judged for what I said that time. But again, it was for the reasons that I mentioned before,
Yeah.
and anything I said was because of what I was going through at the time, not because I was actually feeling any way negative towards anybody. But that was the last time I ended up working there.
How do you balance wrestling with your real life?
You just kind of have to think about what kind of sacrifices you want to make and how far it is you want to go and what it is you're trying to do. Like, I'm fairly certain, like, from the people that I've talked to and the people who have talked to me from the work that I've done, I won't, because I don't like to toot my own horn. It's not the kind of guy I am. I mean, I will a little bit because otherwise you wouldn't have nobody on your podcast, right? So, I wouldn't say I was nobody, but the things that I learned were that, sorry, what was the question again? So I can make sure I word this properly.
How do you balance wrestling with real life?
Right. Again, you think about what it is you want to. So again, I've been told like before, like with the stuff that I was capable of accomplishing in the ring and stuff like that. And I was on TV once with Jake the Snake Roberts, and Judging from his reaction, he was blown away by it. I've got a picture for proof. It was just some Rogers daytime thing, but I remember like just kind of going into my shtick unexpectedly, and he was really impressed by that. And then I've had some other people come up to me as well and be like, yeah, that was for the certain things that I did. They were really impressed by what I did. So that was like some of the best work for that type of thing that I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I know if I applied myself and I really pushed forward, I could like probably could have gone farther than I did in terms of like hitting up other promotions and things like that. But I was like, at the end of the day, family won out in terms of and mental health. Family and mental health won out over what I wanted to accomplish in the pro wrestling industry, and I'm happy with what I chose because I'm going to take all the knowledge that I've taken so far and I'm just going to apply it to my own thing going forward. And you'll see me back in the wrestling industry again at some point,
Oh, yeah.
possibly starting my own thing. Yeah,
What advice would you give young wrestlers about protecting their mental health?
train, protect yourself in terms of like concussions, things like that, because you're going to make any mental health problems you already have worse if you get a concussion, which I've had a few, just through stupid stuff that I've done. A lot of times it wasn't even the wrestling itself that ended up happening because of it. It was usually like me getting up on top of a top rope and jumping off of it, even though it was loose, and thinking it was tightened like it should have been, and then hurting my head. Uh, so yeah, protect yourself for one. Again, think about what it is you want to accomplish and stick to those goals. Like if you want to just like play a character, you wanted to be the weekend warrior, own up to that, own it. If you want to go far in the business, you want to do AEW, you want to do WWE, then realize that you're gonna have to like eat, sleep, and breathe wrestling. You're probably gonna have to sacrifice things like family life, things like that. This is all stuff you've probably heard before from like veterans, but yeah,
What does true confidence mean to you in pro wrestling?
it's a good question. What does true confidence mean to me in pro wrestling? To be able to go out there and control the crowd. I remember it was Ricky Johnson who was like, I was backstage with him once, and he just goes, Jaze, you were great out there, man, but the one thing you want to do is you want to go out there and you want to control those people. You want to, catch the gaze of the guy at the farthest seat. You want to get their attention. You have to control it. And I was like, I think I get what you're saying. And so it wasn't just him that said that, but I've watched a lot of shoot interviews and things like that where a lot of people say the same thing. And yeah, just going out there and controlling people's emotions. That's where you feel that's where I always felt like that was the most confident because I'm a storyteller first and foremost, and that's always where I felt really confident was going out there telling a promo or going out there telling a story, and that was always what was really most important to me. Like any of the matches I was either in wrestling myself or if I was just the manager for, I like to make sure the story that was being told came across to the audience so they understood what was happening and that they were emotionally invested. Because if people aren't emotionally invested, you don't get them to come back. Because you need to get them emotionally invested to the point where they go home, and they tell their friends and be like, okay, so I know you don't like wrestling, but this thing that happened when I was there, it was like the craziest thing. This guy did this thing, and then this thing happened, and you got to come and see it. And so whatever you can get them hooked on there and getting them to come back, that's the sweet spot.
What's your most embarrassing song on your playlist?
The most embarrassing song on my playlist? Oh man, mm, I got a lot of My Little Pony music on my playlist. And that's because of that split personality thing I was telling you about before.
Yeah.
So that would probably take the cake. Yeah, I don't know if there's a particular song, maybe Lullaby for a Princess.
Hey.
But that's the song's kicking though. Like even as like uh, even if you're outside of the fan perspective of My Little Pony, like that's actually a fantastic song. A
Okay.
lot of fan music.
What entrance theme do you wish you could use?
What entrance music did I wish I could have used like
Yeah.
when I was out there? I don't know. I got to use a lot of the entrance music that I really wanted to
Oh,
use.
really?
Yeah, like I've come out to One Winged Angel once
Oh,
before
nice.
Kenny Omega did it that one time, which good for him for doing, by the way,
Yeah.
because I was a huge fan of Final Fantasy VII myself. I'm a nerd of all trades, by the way. I just adored that when that happened. I also really, while I was managing, I really wanted to come out to the another Final Fantasy VII song actually, but it's the Junin Harbor song when Rufus comes out with the fanfare. It's like dun 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 dun. Did, have you heard the one? Have you played Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII? Yeah, so I got to come out to that one once when I was running for camp, when I was running
that
for
would be
office. Yeah, and then
fitting.
yeah, and then I also got to come out to Heathens, which I really was really wanting to come out to for my Revolution camp uh, stable that I was running at the time. That was really cool. Yeah.
Who's on your Mount Rushmore for pro wrestling?
Hulk Hogan for sure. Bruno Sammartino would be another. I think Undertaker would have to go on there as well because you have to have a character on there, a character wrestler. Oh, who would be number 4 is the big question. And it's a Mount Rushmore, so it's got to be like a face from the past. Probably Ric Flair. Yeah, yeah, I'd put Ric Flair on there.
I can't hate on the Ric Flair flop. Like that's.
Oh man, I love the Ric Flair flop.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that's funny. Good stuff.
What are your top 5 favorite matches of all time?
Top 5 matches of all time. I know I'm probably gonna flack for this one, but Chris Benoit versus Shawn Michaels versus Triple H at WrestleMania 20. I don't know if that's my number 1 match. No, definitely not, but it's on my number. It's in my top 5 for sure. I just remember like the emotion I felt at the time when it happened, and you can't really take that away, regardless of anything that happened afterwards. Um, and then let's see here. The first Hell in a Cell match, maybe the Hell in a Cell match with Mankind versus Undertaker.
Yeah.
That'd be in there as well. I was trying to go back on like just pure emotion and memory of like how I really felt.
Yeah, I'm trying to make my picks in my head.
Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18.
Yeah.
Like just the way they went out there and they just said to themselves to each other before they went out there, like, let's just call it when we're out there. That melts my heart because that's the kind of wrestling I love when they go out and they just feel out the audience because you can have the best wrestling match in the world, but if you go out there and you're painting Picasso, but everyone wanted finger paints, it doesn't matter how good your fucking Picasso was. It's gonna get thrown in the trash. People wanted finger paints. You gotta pay. You gotta play to the audience that you're presenting for. And yeah, a lot of wrestlers don't really. I don't think they get that. They overplan everything. You have Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat to blame for that at WrestleMania 3.
Yeah.
They were the first ones to really do it. Apparently, they were like called every moment of the match, like top to bottom. And now like all these wrestlers are like doing that where no one calls it in the ring anymore.
No.
Yeah,
For me, I'd have to go like Abdullah and the Sheik versus the Funks.
nice,
I'd have to go British Bulldogs versus the Malenkos.
nice.
I'd have to go.
Oh, sorry. Let me cut you off here because I also want to add in my last 2 as well.
Go for it.
Austin versus Bret Hart, WrestleMania 13.
Yeah.
That's got to go on there just because I remember again the emotion I felt at the time. Where Austin was like passing out stuff like that, and then the Iron Man match between Bret and Sean.
Yeah.
That's got to go on there as well. I think that's 5. All right, you can continue.
Andre versus Inoki because whenever they met, it was always good. Inoki made catch wrestling look strong. And then I'd actually say, if you know all the history about it, Muhammad Ali versus Inoki was actually a pretty good match.
Oh, was it?
It fucked up Muhammad Ali's legs.
Oh, that's not a good thing.
Inoki had loose straps on his boots. So every time he would kick, the straps would get him too.
That's right. I remember there was some bad blood there in that match, wasn't there? Like some crazy shit happened. I forgot about that.
If you could wrestle anyone in their prime, who would it be?
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah.
Yeah, just imagine that would be a very comfortable match.
Not Owen? Owen's the king of hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't deny that. No, but I love Owen to death. Don't get me wrong. But no, Bret would be on my list of.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, in his prime. Not only would be comfortable, but I could go in there and be complete dog shit, and he would make me look good.
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
It wouldn't matter how bad I was; he would make me look like pure gold, and that's just how good Bret the Hitman Hart is and was at that time. He's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Yeah. I don't know if that's actually true, but for sure, like I think that would be my number 1 answer for that.
Who's one underrated wrestler more people should be watching?
Carter Mason.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that there's been a few times where that guy's been should have been given a shot or hasn't happened, and I think that if he ever had those shots, that people would really connect with him, and I think that he would go far based on, if he got that kind of exposure.
The fact he wears his title belt around his neck, I think, is the coolest thing.
Yeah,
Like I want to do that with my NWA spiked globe. Just turn it into a belt and
do it.
wear the head plate. It'd be cool.
You should do it.
Thank you, Jaze. You've been immensely awesome.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Anytime you want to talk to me, I'm free.
Hey, this is PWE superstar Cody Diener, the king of the schwa. You're listening to Wrestling with Mental Health. I want you to know it's important to take care of your mental health, but it's also important to support professional wrestling, independent professional wrestling, like Pro Wrestling Clips, like my buddy here has. So hey, keep listening, keep taking care of yourself, and keep loving professional wrestling.